to the Rip Jersey Podcast with James D. Jackson.
Hello and welcome again to the Rip Jersey Podcast. I am your host, James D. Jackson, and we just keep on going. Bringing you episodes day after day after day. And it was a great weekend of baseball. So much history was made. So many things happened. I could barely keep up. It was crazy. Let's get right into this hectic week of baseball.
Here's the first story of the day.
The first story today, and I guess you probably guessed this, the Seattle Mariners come back from 7 down to win the wild card series. I mean, how many times has that happened? And I'm glad you asked that question because I actually know. There have been 2 teams to do that since baseball has been in existence. In 2008, the Red Sox did it, and somebody else did it back in 1929, a long time ago. It's just one of those crazy things. And the Seattle Mariners, man, they just keep on going. They keep on making history. Those are the Magic Boys for real. Those guys are incredible out there. Let's break down the game just a bit. Obviously, I want to talk about the team was down at 8-1 at one point in that game. And George Springer and Bo Bichette collided with each other on one of those droopers that we all know and love in baseball, those in-betweeners between the outfield and the infielder. And guys have to call off one of the two. Obviously, the outfielder most of the time has priority in that situation. But the guys collided, and so 4 runs scored off of that. I mean, just all of those runs. Just think where that game would have been had those 2 guys not collided. There's still a chance that the Seattle Mariners could have come back in that game, but those guys colliding, that caused for a lot of runs to go by, and that caused them to tie the game. If they don't tie the game at that point, who knows where they'd be? Adam Frazier steps up to the plate, and he's been one of those guys that hasn't had one of the best years this year, but he came in clutch in the right moment. And that's all you need in the postseason. That's why anything can happen. It comes down to the luckiest teams most of the time at this point. And magic happens, man. Magic of the Seattle Mariners keeps on going. And it's crazy. Adam Frazier hit the tie-breaking RBI double to give the Mariners the lead, which they never gave back after that. It's just one of those crazy, crazy things. And now the Blue Jays have lost 5 straight postseason games. I mean, this team was a young team coming in to this season, and they've proven that they can be, one of the toughest teams out there. And now that they have this, I'm sure this will be a growing moment for them. They won't forget about this. They won't forget about this because this is one of those things. Obviously, just 3 teams in history now, with them included, have let this type of lead slip, and they're gonna be out for vengeance next year. I'm sure of it. They're gonna see the Seattle Mariners again because both of these 2 teams are young. The Seattle Mariners are making their groundbreaking season, and I know the Blue Jays are gonna want revenge from that because it's kind of embarrassing. It's embarrassing to lose like that. So I can't wait to see this matchup next year and see where they go from here. But now we get to the point where the Seattle Mariners, the point that we were all hoping for this franchise, for those fans, and for baseball all around, is they get to play a postseason game in front of their home fans at their stadium now as they move into the divisional series. So this is the first time they'll get to do that since 2001. I can't wait to see how packed that stadium is going to be, how wild those fans are going to be for this moment. It has been a long awaited time, 21 years in the making, and I can't wait to get into it. But let's get into the next story of the day.
Here's the second story of the day.
The second story of the day is the Cleveland and Tampa Bay game going into 15 innings. How many is that? Count them. 15 innings. Obviously, before this game took place, I was at work covering softball for my day job for the newspaper, and we're out here in Oklahoma. Red River Rivalry was on, the Oklahoma-Texas game, and as you know, if you saw that score, Texas just kept on scoring, and at a certain point, it just got tiresome. I put on my headphones, turned on the game on my laptop, as I'm watching softball in front of me, and I can just hear the announcers talking. They're in the 11th inning at this point, and I'm like, what is going on? I look at the score, it's still 0-0. What year are we playing baseball in for two teams to be tied at 0 heading into the 11th inning? And it stayed that way all the way to the 15th until Oscar Gonzalez walks off with the hit, with the home run in the 15th inning, and he becomes the first person to do that for Cleveland in their franchise history in the postseason. And it's just one of those great, great moments that I'm sure Cleveland will always remember, because Cleveland has had some things happen with them. So it's amazing that they get that off as well. I saw something in the comments that I wanted to grab about just real quick. Somebody said, why is there no ghost runners in the postseason? Why would you want ghost runners in the postseason? At this point in time, there is so much on the line. We're not trying to save pitchers for the rest of the season. We're not, these games matter. All right? These games matter. Guys are trying to get contracts. Guys are trying to win World Series rings. Franchises are trying to win World Series rings. Some fans have been waiting 21 years for these moments. So there's no reason to have ghost runners. Just one of those things I wanted to gripe about. To get that off my chest, that didn't make sense to me. I'm not sure who the commenter was. I wouldn't want to put him on blast anyway, but no, man. No. However, this was the second MLB game to be scoreless going into 12 innings in the history of baseball. Just the second time it's happened. That is incredible. And just once again, we're seeing so much history in these last couple months. This is a great time to be a baseball fan. If you're not a baseball fan, if you haven't been a baseball fan before, this is the time to get in. This is incredible what we're seeing. But let's get into the third story of the day.
Here's the third story of the day.
The third story of the day are the three things that I think you need to know as we move forward in the baseball season and the postseason as well. So let's get right into it.
Number 3.
The third thing I think you need to know today is the Mets take down the Padres 7-3 to even the wild card series. Pete Alonso homered to left to give the Mets the lead in the 5th inning, and the Mets didn't give it back from there. Their game 3 is scheduled for Sunday at 6:07 Central Time. So at this point that you're seeing this video or listening to this podcast, that series is wrapped up. Let me know in the comments who won that. Was it the Mets or the Padres? As I'm looking at it right now, the Padres are up 3-0 in the 4th inning. So you can tell which way that is going, but with the Seattle Mariners and their comeback, you never really know for sure.
Number 2.
The Philadelphia Phillies took down the Cardinals 2-0 to win the World Series in the second thing I think you need to know. Bryce Harper homered to right to give the Phillies the lead, and they cruised on from there. The Phillies will take on the Braves on Tuesday, but they get a postseason series win, which is something that they can't take lightly. Obviously, the Phillies have one of the longest droughts in postseason history as well coming into this, and now they get their win. But the thing I want to talk about, the number one thing I think you need to know, is from the Cardinals organization.
Number 1.
The number one thing I think you need to know, and I want to take this moment to just congratulate and appreciate the trio that the Cardinals have had. Obviously, that's Albert Pujols, Yadier Molina, and Adam Wainwright. Pujols and Molina, we know for sure, are retiring after that. They were retiring this year after that last run. Adam Wainwright, we aren't entirely sure on what he's going to do, because he gave some comments that made you think there's a chance he'll be back. We'll see. But let's talk about Pujols and Molina, because those two guys have been staples for that organization for so long. Obviously, Yadier Molina has been a catcher for the Cardinals since I can remember, of watching baseball, of playing baseball. He's just been outstanding, and one of the GOATs that you always try to mimic on the field as a baseball player when you're playing catcher, turning your hat backwards, everything like that. Albert Pujols, obviously being one of the guys, the only 4 guys in MLB history to hit 700 home runs. He did that this past season, and it's just been great those two guys get hits in their last game, and I think in their last at-bats as well. So it's just a great accomplishment for them, and we want to congratulate them for a great career. Just something that you can't take for granted, man. You can't take it for granted. But that is all we have for the Rip Jersey podcast today. I'm your host, James T. Jackson. I appreciate you for sticking along with us. Thanks for watching this video. If you made it this far, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, I have a podcast called Rip Jersey. Follow that, add it to your playlist. Listen to it wherever you can. Thanks for watching again.